And welcome everybody, Prophets in the Spotlight. This is an update and we're going to discuss on the program today. Dr. Hiltibidal and I are going to discuss the mark of the beast. If you watched last week's TV program or the YouTube show right here, you know that we got into the mark of the beast, Revelation 13. We read some verses out of chapter 14 and other places. But Doc, I didn't feel like we got quite far enough because I had a list of verses. Because I think a lot of people think the mark of the beast is only mentioned in Revelation 13. But it's not. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 other verses here in Revelation that are not Revelation 13.
Right.
And I really want to go through some of these. But why don't we first go ahead and read the verse in chapter 13 so everybody gets it here. And while I'm turning to this, why don't you just briefly tell them about the need we have for the bill that's coming up?
We're coming up to the time we're going to have to make a payment for the next quarter. We try to pay in advance to get about a 10% discount. Right now, we're still 4 weeks out, I believe, maybe 3 weeks out. We're still a few $1,000s short. We certainly could use some help, some support. Maybe you're a businessman and you're in a position where you could do something special. Maybe it's a family that God's blessed in some way, but we need some folks to step up and help us and partner with us in a time of need. I feel like what we're doing is helpful. I really feel like we bring to a bigger audience biblical teaching that's missing in some other areas, and we just need some folks to step up and help us right now.
And Doc, none of us is profiting off of this ministry. We have our own ministries on the side.
We both have our own ministries. I travel and speak in a lot of churches. You travel and speak in churches. We have a book table where we go. We have our materials and the love offerings we get for preaching, and what we get off our book tables is that's how we survive.
Now we, of course, hoping that this will grow into
more it would be
where we spend most of our time here.
We're praying the Lord would open a door, but right now this is where we are, and
we don't live in fancy houses. We don't drive fancy cars.
No,
and not against those things. But we, in other words, the money that comes in goes to the
anything that you
ministry.
give to Prophets in the Spotlight goes for the ministry of Prophets Spotlight. It doesn't go to any of our expenses.
Right. And we're still short. I feel like it's going to come in. It always does.
It always has.
We need folks to go to the website, Prophets in the Spotlight. There's a donate button there. You can donate any amount there. Or you could, there's an address on the website. You can send a check to Prophets in the Spotlight that way. You could also call the number there and get a hold of us if you'd like to talk to Doc or myself or both of us. We'd be happy to talk to you about you partnering with us and what our vision is for the ministry here. All right, so Doc, I'm going to read chapter 13 of Revelation a little bit. I guess the last 3 verses is what folks go do. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast. And then he says, here is wisdom, verse 18, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. For it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, or 666. This, as we get closer to the end, the further we get down the road, this is starting to really open up to us.
Yes.
And what's going on? I mean, just what's going on with the pandemic and everything.
With all the things that are associated with it.
I mean, we talked on the program last week about that, about a list of things about buying and selling.
Yes.
If you don't have the passport, you can't buy. They're wanting to cut people off that don't have this passport proving that they got it.
Right, and I mean, a lot of your federal employees, a lot of your hospital employees, a lot of people in businesses are having to make a major choice. And all of that is a picture, I believe, a foreshadow. That's what I cover in that DVD on the Pandemic Road. I think it's a foreshadowing of what you just read that's going to be full force in the middle of the tribulation.
Now, it is possible, we talked about this off the air a little bit, it is possible that what's going on today is going to dwarf into something more after we're gone.
I'm convinced it will.
And be all a part of this whole system.
It has demonstrated the willfulness of the major population of the world to be guided by fear into these things. I think the biggest thing that I take away from it, Dan, is that I'm seeing the greater majority of the world is already living under the power of delusion that Paul wrote about in 2 Thessalonians. And once you and I are removed at the rapture, I can see the world that's already under that delusion totally engulfed in it. They're going to fall in line. The old saying is swallowed hook, line, and sinker. Yeah.
Now, what we just read in Revelation 13, if you back up a couple of verses, we spoke about this image.
The image.
And we spent a lot of time on that. In
The
this
technology,
last week.
it's already available for those.
And it seems like the image that seems to be some kind of computerized AI being,
no doubt artificial
it's not
intelligence.
human. It's a
Right.
it's a replica, a likeness
It's an
of
image,
of the
a
Antichrist.
image, the likeness of, yes.
But
But
they're told to
somehow or
worship
another it has the ability to, let you stay alive or not in relationship to your involvement in the system
right.
of worship.
In other words,
And the key word is worship, I think.
they're told to worship that image.
Yeah. And
It's almost like
he's declaring himself to be God.
Yeah, and it's almost like the Catholic religion today, where they worship. They claim
Idols
they don't, but they have idols and statues, and
They pray to this one and that one to get to God, and
and it's almost
Very
like
similar.
that's what this is.
Yeah.
Only this was an image, a likeness of the Antichrist, who believes he's the Messiah.
He's declared himself by the middle of the tribulation to be God.
That's right, and they make an image of him.
Yeah.
When the very commandments say not to have an image of anything that is in heaven
Right.
or any likeness of.
Right.
And that's what this image is. It's an image, a likeness of the man himself, who we call the Antichrist.
Right.
And this image seems to be the one that we're supposed to worship. To get to the Antichrist, you worship the image of him. I'm not sure we fully understand it all.
I'm not sure
It seems like it's still blurry, but it's starting to come into focus.
Well, it's coming into view. Still not quite in full focus. Prophecy in these end times is the closer you get to something, more light shines on the subject.
Yeah.
And 50 years ago, many people in prophecy they believed what the Bible said, but how in the world is the whole world going to see the two witnesses? Well, today we understand all that's through technology. No big deal.
Yeah.
So, as you say, things are starting to come into view. They're not quite in focus. Honestly, I'm hoping we're out of here before they come into full focus.
Yeah, and very probably we will. But somehow, as you said, this image declares that if you don't have the mark of the beast and you don't worship the image, then you're to be killed.
That's where I think there's got to be maybe something like a chip system or there's got to be some way that your allegiance in worship
Is known.
is known in a technological way in order to be connected to the power that's involved in that image. At the same time, I'm convinced that you're going to have some kind of outward sign that shows you're involved in the worship of the beast.
The right hand or the forehead.
Yeah.
Now let's go ahead and get ahead of ourselves here.
And it does say in our King James Bible, in.
Yeah.
So
it's something we seem to think, because we live in the age of computers and chips now, so we see things that Daniel didn't see, and Spurgeon didn't see, and Moody didn't see, and
a QR code could be not branded or
from
tattooed
a satellite in the sky,
or whatever could be read.
They could scan a crowd of hundreds of thousands of people and pick out who isn't, who doesn't.
Who doesn't and who has, and what your number is.
Yeah, talk about having to run for your life. I mean, when and I've seen movies from the 70s that had some of this stuff in it.
Well, just last evening I watched a news video clip about Elon Musk and the Starlink program that he's putting together. And they've not put up anything since June. They've not put up another satellite. And the spokeslady said the reason is we're retrofitting the rest of these satellites it's a low altitude satellite network, which is 24/7 surveillance of the Earth. And she said, we're retrofitting these that we're finishing the network with, we're retrofitting them with lasers. So I don't know what they meant by that, but I mean, there was no swallowing. It was just the next line in her words.
I'm speechless. I didn't know what to say.
That's what she said. Yeah.
Now it says that he could kill. Now we know there's going to be martyrdom. We know that there's going to be beheadings, and we know the Bible says
and that helps
can't buy or sell.
That's where a lot of people think the Islamic folks are going to be involved because of the beheading. But hey, they had the guillotine in France, and they weren't Islamic.
Yeah.
They were Catholic. But anyway.
And I've read stories. I don't know. You try to confirm them, but I've read stories. You've probably seen the same stories of portable guillotines, thousands of them that are stored and that the government has bought. I don't know. I've heard about the coffins and all that. It's possible. FEMA and people like that.
Yeah, well.
But you don't know what to believe. But.
Well, that's like back during the days of the turmoil of the elections in America. They were this one program called Q or whatever it is, nothing but a bunch of misinformation to feel out and find who was on which side and who's on the other side.
Yeah. And I think there may be a mixture in there of some truth and some mixture. Because a lot of people are involved. I don't know what to think of all that, but
right, I hear you.
But I know things are becoming more believable all the time. The further we go down this road.
Man, I'm telling you, what you read in the Bible is
3 years ago, you would have never believed if someone said, "Look, we're going to pull out of Afghanistan." And we're going to leave our Americans behind. We're going to leave all the military equipment behind.
We're going to leave billions of dollars of material.
We're going to leave and have people hanging onto the wings of the plane when it flies out. You would have never believed it. That's conspiracy stuff. It happened.
Yeah, it happened.
And to leave billions of dollars of military equipment. They say they have more military than many of the countries of the world.
They have more military power than the majority of the countries of the world.
Yeah, and they're willing to use it. They don't care. They're willing to die. There's 70 virgins waiting for them.
It's pretty obvious to me that this is not a debacle, but it is a plan.
Yeah. Well, let's just take the last couple of minutes here and just read through some of these verses that a lot of folks maybe never caught, that the mark of the beast is mentioned in other places here. Let's go in order here. Revelation 14, verse 9. I'll read them, and maybe you can comment a little bit. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive the mark in his forehand or his hand, and I don't have verse 10 here, but verse 11 goes on and says, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image. So those who worship the beast and his image, whatever's going on here, are going to have no rest day or night, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Anything you want to comment on those passages?
Well, I think it's going to be connected with the one you're going to read next.
You mean chapter 15,
chapter
verse
15.
2. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast and over his image. And I underlined 4 words here. Yeah. Victory over the beast, over his image, over his mark, and over the number of his name.
Yeah. All 4 of those are there that you find back in chapter 13.
Yeah. And they're almost always mentioned together. He never just mentions the image of the beast or the mark. He mentions all these things at the same time. The beast, the image of the beast, the mark of the beast, and the number of his name. Now, the mark of the beast it's connected somehow.
It's a system somehow.
To that image. And it's like this mark that's going to be on your hand or your forehead. And
we think about it today, you know, I mean, whether it's a cell phone, you can Bluetooth. Technologically, you can connect your phone to your computer or to your automobile or wherever.
So you walk in the grocery store and you're connected to this
Even
image.
right now, many of the major stores have electronic sale prices up there, and because you walk by, your cell phone has already, artificial intelligence already know you're walking down there, so it pre-programs that just for you because you're getting ready to walk by and you're going to look at it.
Yeah.
They're already doing these things.
And so you walk in the store, you walk through the scanner of the door. You don't see the scanner, but there's one there.
It's there.
And it knows that you're allowed in there because you've got the thing in your forehead or your hand. Which is very similar to what's going on right now.
Right, very similar.
With the V.
This is the roadmap to it.
And so you walk in, and so you want to purchase something. You're already in the system. It's already, and somehow it's.
By that time, you know you only have to stop and pull your card out. I mean, it's just all right.
And you
there.
probably have an allotted amount because it's going to be a giant socialist world, and you know we're all going to live off the government, and we're all going to be slaves working for them. I say we. I ain't going to be here.
No, I'm going to be in glory.
Well, all right, this is the one we want to get to here. This is something we were talking about earlier. Chapter 16, of course, the vials of the wrath of God.
Yeah, that's
and the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore. I didn't think about what you're talking this until you mentioned it today off the air. We talked about this. I never thought of this the way you brought it out, so I want you to share this. There fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast.
Yeah.
So this vial is poured out. This is near the end of the tribulation, near the end of the second half. There are no doubt some saved people. Some have been martyred, but they're still saved people living on the earth.
Absolutely.
People. But this vial only affects those who have the mark of the beast. How does that happen?
Some kind of reaction must be.
And upon them which worshipped his image. So he never just says one. He adds.
It's always got some.
The mark of the beast and those who worshipped the image of the beast. They kind of go together. You don't have one without the other. You can't worship him without the mark. You don't get the mark until you're ready to work. You know, it's all tied together here. And it happens to be this big, no man can buy or sell without it. So it's all connected to the financial system of the world. Now, tell me what you were sharing earlier about the sores, these sores that come upon these people that have the mark.
Well, I'm confident it could be one of two things. It could be a technological thing. Technology could cause it, or it could be a reaction to what's happened. God could easily. We're worried about, our world is worried about an EMP today and its effect on things. What if God just turned the sun up a little bit, because that's all connected with this. What if he turned up the sun and the amount of the sunburst and the energies that come into our universe as a result of that? Or he's turned the sunlight down and it's lessened the sun's activity, and that will affect the electronics
and
of the earth.
And we know, according to Revelation 8, there's 1/3 less sunlight.
Yeah, so it could easily cause what man has designed to become a cancerous sore or whatever.
I'm fascinated about what you said earlier, though, about the technological part, about the sore.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you got it in your forehead, and all of a sudden you get a big sore, and it starts to spread because of that.
Because of the,
And
how they
I'm leaning towards that.
How they going to put it in there if they didn't inject it?
Yeah, so you got something either in your right hand or in your forehead.
Yeah.
It may or may not be visible to the human eye. We don't know.
I want to think it's going to be visible because it's a worship system, and
it connects
how do you and I know? Maybe it's the
as you're
technological.
On the street,
you'll know.
You'll know who's with you and who isn't.
You know, today they're putting colored coded bands on, so you'll know who belongs in which part of the ballpark and which doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. I still think it's going to be something identifiable as well as internal.
Since this mark is such a big deal here with God, and it damns you.
Yeah.
And I think it's a system it is a system of, it's
It's a
you
system of
trusting
worship.
the
It's
Messiah.
you've put your trust in this God who's
That's right.
got an image.
Just like I trusted Christ as my Messiah.
Yes.
And I got born again.
Yes.
It appears that when they put their faith in this Messiah,
Yep.
they're born again into a wicked,
They place
evil
their faith
system.
in that, just like
And they're dead. They
place-
cannot be saved after that.
It appears very so, because everybody that's got that mark is not going to have any rest, as you read a while ago. They're going to be troubled all the night long,
Yep.
and they're going to have these sores.
Now,
Nobody will have to figure out who's got it, will they? If everybody's got sores.
And wouldn't it make sense that God inflicts the pain and suffering upon the very symbol
Yeah.
of what you just trusted in?
Yeah.
Now, can you not see, without me saying it, because you can't say it,
Yeah.
can you not see a similarity here of what could become?
That's what I covered in the Pandemic
and
Road.
the Pandemic Road DVD that everyone that's watching this needs to order by going to the website and clicking on Doc's bookstore. And,
If you can't see it, you're never going to see.
because I think
Except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of heaven. And
I
so,
think the full extent of what's coming with
yes,
that which we cannot speak of here,
Right.
that they're trying to do to everybody in the world,
Mm-hmm.
is going to have an effect later on that we don't even know about.
it's already having an effect.
Yeah,
And they're doing their best to cover it up, but it's still, it's obvious.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it could bleed through into the tribulation and be part of this, but I don't know. But
Well,
it certainly teaches us what this is all about.
It shows us, we're watching, I believe, the foreshadows of what's coming. Yes.
Well, there's just two more verses here. I know we're going a little long here on this update, but the beast, chapter 19, verse 20, the beast was taken. This is at the end when Christ comes back. Woo-hoo!
Yeah.
We will be here for this.
That's right.
The beast was taken, and with him the false prophet. The beast is the Antichrist here. And the false prophet, and that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them, and had received the mark of the beast, and that worshipped his image. See, it never stands alone.
Yeah.
He always ties the worship
it
in there
together.
with it. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. And I tell folks, these are the first two people that are cast into the lake of fire.
Yeah.
A lot of people in hell. Hell's not the lake of
That's
fire.
not the lake of fire.
The lake of fire is
Be another
that
1,000 years.
final
Be another
resting
1,000
place.
years before they join them.
Right. So they're going to be there 1,000 years ahead of those that are going to join them. And then the last verse here, Revelation 20, verse 4, I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. Wow. So those are some other verses about the mark.
There's a lot more to it than just...
There is. And I'll tell you, my wheels are spinning here. I know we haven't gotten all that there is here yet. There's more to be understood. I don't know if God's going to give it to me or somebody else, but I think we're missing something that's pretty obvious, and I don't know what it is. But there's more to this mark of the beast than I think we realize.
It's the system that's going to govern the world, and it's a religious system.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, well, on that note, I hope you know Jesus. I hope you're ready for that
Yes.
trumpet, because that trumpet's going to sound whether you're ready or not, here I come. That's what's going to happen in heaven, and he's coming for us. If you're not saved, you will be left behind.
Amen.
You will suffer through the tribulation period if you live long enough, and you will die and go to hell if you don't get saved during the tribulation, which is very doubtful. And you got to make it through the first half if you're going to be saved. And so I hope that you know Jesus. If you've got any problems, if you've got any questions, or if you've got some doubts about whether you're saved or not, contact us. We'd love to help you. All right, on that note, Doc, let's keep our eyes on them skies.
Amen.